back to Yoga Pilates Fusion. It's Monday morning class. So we're gonna start in a reclining butterfly shape, which means the legs are gonna be positioned so that they make, this little butterfly wing diamond shape. So if you want some support under your legs, you could do a couple of throw pillows or a folded blanket. If you've got some yoga blocks, you could use those. And then you also have the opportunity, if you want to use it, to put something up under your upper back, okay? So you could take a blanket and fold it so that it's sort of, you've got like a long tube. I like to fold it rather than roll it, unless it's a really thin blanket. I find it a little more comfortable to have it underneath my back if it's not too round. So you could start out like that. If you want to do a little bit of an extra kind of chest opening, that's all nice. Otherwise, you can just lie down. Or if you want to, you can stay sitting and just do the butterfly shape that way. All right. You can lay down later. So we're going to get into position in whatever way you've decided to do this. So I'm using a blanket underneath my back. I just made myself like a little tiny bit of a wrinkle for my head. And I've got the blanket about as low as my rib cage goes. And then feet together and the knees open. I'm gonna put these little dudes in here so that I get it just to the point where I feel a stretch, but not much more than that. And then snuggling the shoulder blades under. It gives me a chance to kind of open up and let my arm bone drop back. So I get that little bit of opening around the secondary breathing muscle area. So the ribs can expand and I can release some tension from my little pectoralis minor there. Which helps us get a nice deep breath. Now, once you've gotten yourself in position, we're just going to concentrate on the breath for a few moments. Now in yoga, generally, we breathe in and out through the nose. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is that it's better at filtering the air. So there's that. Two is that it makes the lungs work a tiny bit harder. So we develop a little bit more strength and lung capacity because of that. And then three, it warms the air up, which makes the oxygen molecules a little easier to be absorbed. So it's a good idea if you can breathe in and out through your nose, when you can breathe in and out through your nose, to do that. Now, in Pilates, the inhale is done through the nose, so we get all those same benefits, but the exhale is through the mouth, so that you can empty a little faster, so you can engage the abdominal muscles a little bit more. So just notice the difference. Between the inhale and exhale, if it's done one way or the other. It's okay if you have a preference for one or the other, but just notice. Now we're going to take 2 more big breaths. exhale, just bring your knees together. And we'll straighten the legs out first. Give yourself a little stretch. And then roll over to the side, and we'll kind of slide this blanket out. And if you joined us a little bit later and you missed all that stuff, just take a few moments, lay down on your back, breathe. Oh, everybody's taken a little longer to get themselves together this morning, I totally understand. Make sure you mute your mic if you're joining me live. All right. So, I like the way that feels, that little impression that's left behind by the blanket. And kind of this slight feeling of like my shoulder relaxing back. Just notice what's true for you. And then we're going to take a nice long stretch out through the left leg and bring the right leg in. Now you can bring it in as close as it'll go. If you can hold on to the leg, awesome. If not, don't worry about that. Just bring it in as close as it's willing to come in. And then we'll spin this foot around in some circles. Go the other direction with the circles. Okay, and then point and flex. So that there's a little bit of movement there. And also in the bones in your foot if you can. Not just the ankle. Cool. Alright, yogis, now. We're going to extend this leg up. Now, if you can't hold on to it, don't worry about it. If you can't get it all the way straight, don't let it go all the way straight. We're just going to see how that hamstring stretch goes. And bend the knee. And then extend that leg. And bend the knee. All right, so we're going to let this leg extend all the way up. We're going to energize the left leg. Now, you can lift it a couple of inches off the floor if you like. You can leave it resting on the floor, do a little bit of an internal rotation, and kind of feel yourself sort of dig in just a notch so that the knee is slightly bent and you can lift your kneecap just a bit. Or if you need a little extra, you can bend the knee so that you can kind of, again, create that same structure where you kind of dig into the heel, engage the quadriceps a little bit on the top, sort of keep the hip nice and stable. We're going to take the hands behind the head. You're going to try not to pull on your neck. You're going to press your head back into your hands. We're going to try to take this left elbow towards that right big toe. Coming up, and then coming back down, okay? Curl up and down. Coming up. Inhale on the down slope. Exhale as you come up. And this is a great time to exhale through your mouth so you can really get that extra space for movement. Good. Keep your head pressing back. We got 3 more to go. All right, so when you get down to the bottom, we're going to take that leg back down. Give that leg a little stretch. See if there's a difference between the right side and the left side. You just let that right side rest, bring the left side in, give it a little hug, and then we'll spin that foot in circles. Go the other direction after a bit. And then we're going to point and flex. Good morning. All right, so then we're going to try to extend this leg out and bend that knee and extend that leg out and bend the knee, extend that leg out, bend the knee, and then we'll take it all the way out, let go of it, energize this right leg. Again, you can hover it or have a bent knee, hands behind your head, right elbow's going towards that left big toe, coming up. And down. Press your head back. Really make yourself use the abdominals to do this movement. 3 more. All right, last one, you guys. And then come on back down. All right. Just checking on the activity level around me. Give yourself a little windshield wiper. Stretch out both legs. Just notice where it landed you. All right, yogis. So we're going to take ourselves just through just a tiny little bit of a curl. So you can have your knees bent or you can have your legs out straight. Bringing your hands behind your head, we're just going to try to warm up this upper part of the abdominals. So pressing the head back, curl up as far as you can, and then come back down, right? So it might not be very far. It won't matter. As long as these muscles are doing the work, we're going to get them nice and toasty. So curling up and pressing back, curling up, pressing back. So if your shoulders come all the way up off the floor, great. If they don't worry about that. Just make sure your low back isn't in any kind of trouble. All right, I'm going to do 3 more. Just curling up. We're just getting everything warm. Good, last one. And really trying to get ourselves into the habit of using the abdominals for the stabilizing in the movement rather than the neck muscles. So keeping this kind of feeling of the head and neck supporting each other, but not trying to move from there. So it's just a matter of kind of turning in that body memory. All right, so we're going to take the legs up, bring them in. And then curling those shoulders up off the mat, about the same amount you could lift them before. Again, you can put your hands back here, press your head into your hands and really engage those abdominals. You can leave your arms in this position. We're going to take the arms overhead and then bring them back. So you can take them from here and extend them out if you like, and then bring them back just to keep reminding your neck muscles to keep out of doing this work. And then we're going to extend the legs some amount. So they can go up a little higher to maintain more stability for the low back, down a little lower if you want a bigger challenge, okay? So starting in this position, keeping the shoulders nice and lifted, we'll extend out and come back, extend out and come back, extend out and back, out and back, out, back, out, back. Re-engage those abs a little bit more. 2 more. 1 and 2. Good. Bring everything back down. Give yourself a moment to feel and notice. Does the sensation that happens after the movement feel pleasant? Or are there places that feel sore or tender? Like if you've got a sore low back, then we're going to want to change the way we do things a little bit so that we're not putting our low back at risk, right? If the neck muscles feel sore, then we were overdoing it with the neck and trying to work from the neck muscles instead of from the abdominals. There's a kind of pleasant warmth through the abdominals. That's my favorite feeling. So whichever version was happening for you, that's what we're after. Okay, like if it's the warm, pleasant feelings, yes. The not so pleasant feelings, modify so that we keep our body safe. Okay, so we're going to take ourselves through the little scissor movement where the legs are going to come in straight, and then the legs are going to move back and forth. We're going to try to give ourselves a little extra curl from the abdominal muscles, and it might be a lot of a curl or just a little bit of a curl. And if your hamstrings are really tight, you can do this with your knees a little bit more bent. Okay, so we're starting at this point. And again, what I can do is keep my hands behind my head, press my head back, and really make myself engage the abdominals. One leg stretches out down here. This leg stays where it was. We curl up towards it. Okay, so I'm stretching through the legs. Both legs reaching away. Just little extra bits of curl. And if you like, and you don't overdo it with your neck, you can certainly reach up with your hands. All right, so nice and slow. Circulation through the legs. We're going to do 2 more sets. When you're back to the center, having done both the same number of times, just let your head come back down. Release your knees, release your legs. Give yourself a little movement. Now, we're going to come up to a seated position. So you can roll yourself up slow, or you can rock yourself up, or just push yourself up. A little extra hip flexor energy. Good morning, those of you who have joined me a little bit later. Make sure your microphones are turned off so the camera doesn't jump over to your house. Just a thought. Alrighty, so we're here seated. We're going to do a little boat pose work. So we're going to come into a boat pose, and then we're going to kind of lay it back down, come into a boat pose, lay it down. Now you can go all the way to a full boat, or you can keep this more in the sort of half boat realm. It's really just a matter of, again, whether you and your low back agree on things. So bringing yourself into a boat and lifting nice and tall, we're going to round through the navel, round. We're going to suck it in to go back down, okay? So we're going to keep it lifted, nice tall spine, tall lifted breastbone, and then as you open up, try to curl in. Lift nice and tall, curl it in. Lift nice and tall, curl it in. Lift nice and tall. We're going to try to do it twice more. Curl it in. Oh, 1 more. Oh, lift nice and tall. Come on, Kidney. Oh, we can do this. And then we'll come back. Now you might need 2 more. That was enough for me. See where your body says is good to go. Oh, and then we're going to come up to all 4s. Oh, yogis, good morning. Right? So we're going to stretch out the hands and point them forward and do a few rounds of cat. And then you're going to point your hands out to the sides, if that feels okay in your wrists. Do a couple more rounds. All right, now we're going to try this with one hand. We're going to see if we can spin it all the way around to the back. And then we'll round up. Come on back. Release that side. Okay, put that hand back down. Turn the other hand around. Do one more little round. Release that side. And okay. Now, if your wrists feel like they're still a little bit vulnerable, then you can pause for a moment and go into child's pose. If you're up for it, we're going to take ourselves to downward facing dog. So from the child's pose, you can do a little bit puppy dog. I'm going to show you what that can look like. So you can put your hands down and just let the chest drop toward the floor, the forehead drop toward the floor, and then bring the hips forward so that you get a little bit more of this sense of opening in the chest. If you've got some yoga blocks, it could be even more interesting. So if you take a couple of blocks, put your elbows on them, and then lower down. So this is a way to kind of do a downward dog shape without actually being in downward dog. So if downward dog is just not your jam, that one might be a way to sort of get that opening in the shoulders. Okay, so once you get wherever you're going, then we're going to play with the shoulders a little bit. So taking the shoulder blades towards the waist, hugging them in, and then stretching out towards the waist, hug them in, stretch them up towards your ears. One more time, just kind of get them as deep onto your back as you can, neck nice and long, and then we're going to shift all the attention into our legs and give the legs a little bit of a paddle. And if you're doing the puppy dog, you can extend one leg if that feels okay. Work into the calf muscles. And then after a bit, do the other leg. You can work a little bit into your hip. Oh, feels nice. All right, yogis. So when you've had enough, we're going to bring ourselves into a forward bend. Now, take your legs a little bit on the wide side. Like if I had a regular rectangular yoga mat, I'd be right on the very edges. But I've got a big circle, so it doesn't matter. But I'm going for about that wide. A little wider than the shoulders for sure. And then we're going to just kind of sway over to one side. You can bend the knee quite a lot. I like to try to straighten the leg as much as I can and then come over the other way. Knee is bent to start with. And then just see what it's like to get a little straighter. And then just sway one more time to each side. Kind of testing out the hamstrings a different way. Come to the center. You're going to lift up about halfway so it feels like the back is nice and flat. And then see about straightening the legs. Bend the knees, fold all the way over. Give your head a little rinse. And one more time. Come up to about that halfway mark. See if the legs will go all the way straight. And then come all the way up to standing. And give yourself a giant stretch. All right, yogis. Hopefully, we're all together. We're going to take a mountain pose at the very tippy top of the mat. So, feet are about hips distance apart. Point your toes forward if you can. Take a few moments to feel your feet. So we're going to lift up onto the tiptoes and see if we can balance. And then come on back down. Okay? Tiptoes. And then down. Tiptoes, hold steady right there. See if you can lift a little higher. For 3, 2, 1. Come on back down, fold forward. Come up halfway. Exhale, fold. Now, you're going to put your hands on the floor. If you are like me and you've got short arms, you could put blocks down so that your blocks are prepared. You're going to take a nice big step back with your left foot, and this is going to wind us up in a lunge. Now, we're going to hold this lunge a little on the low side. So I'm going to rest my hands here, or you could rest them on the floor. I'm going to make sure I like the length I've got. My knee wants to go past my ankle, so I'm just wiggling my back foot just a little bit further back. And then we're going to straighten out the legs and lift the hips a bit. See if I can fold a bit further over this leg. Then I'm going to come back, press the heel back as I bend this front knee. So I'm kind of stretching back through the calf. Okay? Hips go up, legs go a little straighter. You can see if there's a chance to dip in there. Come back, press back through your heel. Bend your front knee. Give that calf muscle a stretch. Last one like that. Lifting up. Folding maybe. Bend the knee. Press back through your heel the whole way as you bend that knee. Now we're going to take this into a balance. So I'm going to jump this left foot up. I'm going to see if I can get that left leg pretty high. You can bend your right leg quite a lot. Okay, this may be too big a hamstring stretch for this early in the morning. And then you can see if you can take your hands off the floor, grab your standing leg. If you start to fall, you should catch. Lift through that leg nice and tall. Nice big breath. All right, both hands to the floor and step all the way back into downward dog. And again, you can stay right there where you were if you want, or step back into a warrior kind of shape and hang out with that. All right. If you like, we're going to come forward into a plank. You want to skip the plank, you just pause with that downward dog. Bring your knees down if you want. Curl in that tailbone, lift from the navel. Take one more breath. And then we're going to lower down. Come all the way to the ground. We're going to do 3 rounds of Cobra. Inhale, lift. Exhale, come down. Inhale, lift. Use your back muscles. Press your legs into the ground. Come on back down. One more time, lift. Reach through those legs. Come on back down. Now, we're going to wind up facing the wrong direction. So here's how this is going to work. You're going to pick up your right foot. You're going to take that whole leg to the left. Put the foot on the ground. And then we're going to come all the way up to a seated position. So you'll be facing the wrong direction. Just sit up tall. And now your right knee is going to drop open to the side so that your right foot is against your left inner thigh. and your right knee makes that butterfly wing shape that we started with, okay? Sit up nice and tall. We're gonna twist towards that right knee. Nice big breath. Beautiful. Now you're gonna take your left hand, reach out to grab hold of your left big toe. It's possible, it will not be anywhere within your reach. Just reach in that direction and hold onto your shin bone, okay? Take your right arm, sweep it up over your ear, stretch out into a side bend. You're gonna take a big breath. We're gonna come all the way back. Now we've gotta go all the way back where we came from. So we're gonna take this right leg back with us. We're gonna roll onto the belly. Take the right leg all the way back. We're back in Cobra. Lift. And come on back down. Little baby Cobras. Lift. And come on back down one more time. Lift. And come on back down. Now we're gonna push ourselves up to down dog. Take a nice big breath, lift that same right leg up behind you. Exhale, bring that knee in, round your back. Inhale, stretch it back. Exhale, curl it in. Inhale, stretch it back, big long stretch. Whee. Sink into your left heel. Step your right foot as far forward as it goes in one step. Bring your left foot up to meet it. Come up halfway. Exhale, fold. Come all the way up to standing. Big stretch. And we'll come back to mountain pose. Take a nice big breath. Exhale, let go. Notice if the right side and the left side feel the same. We're going to lift up onto the tiptoes. Oops, hey baby. And then we're going to come back down. Lift up onto tiptoes. Come back down. Lift up onto tiptoes so you can get a little bit taller. Hold steady. 3, 2, 1. Come on back down. Fold forward. Come up halfway. Exhale, fold. So again, if you were using blocks last time, you can use them again. We're going to step back with the right foot. And we'll come into that lunge shape. Okay, so just check out, like, where is your knee? How far back should your right foot be? So you've got a decent sized lunge for your anatomy. Then we're going to try to straighten out the legs. So we're going to lift the hips. Let both legs get a little straighter. Maybe I can fold over my front leg a little bit. Then I'm going to push down through my right heel as I bend my left knee again. So I'm back in the lunge with a nice emphasis on the calf stretch. Okay, hips go up, legs go a little straighter. Fold towards the front. Heels pressing back as I bend my left knee. Ooh, I like that right calf muscle stretch. Last one, lifting up the hips. Fold it over the leg. Push back through that right heel, bend your left knee. So we're back in that lunge. Feel that stretch. All right, we're ready. We're going to take ourselves into the balance. So we're going to pick the right leg up. See how high that'll lift. You might need quite a lot of bend in your left leg. And if it's available, take your hands off the whatever you're holding onto and hold onto your left leg. Ooh. And when you fall, catch. You might have to catch a bunch. Take one more deep breath. All right, we're putting the hands on the floor. We're stepping back into down dog. Take a moment, just notice. All right, we're coming forward into plank. Oh, holding onto your plank. You can modify it. Just make sure that, you're drawing in that navel. You're really working through that stabilizing through the belly and the tops of the thighs. One more breath. Good. We're lowering all the way down to the floor. All right. So we're going to take ourselves through that series of cobras. They're little baby cobras. We're using our back muscles. So press the legs down. Lift. Good. Draw your elbows back. Slide your hands back a notch. Press the legs into the ground. Lift. Beautiful. One more time. Lift. All right, so we're going to do that weird thing again. So bend your left knee so your left foot's in the air. Take it over to the right and sit up. And then you're just going to drop that knee out to the side. So we're in this half a butterfly shape. Left knee is the butterfly, right leg is straight. Twist towards your left knee. Sit up tall. One more breath like that. All right, so just turn this right leg on. I'm gonna reach out, grab that big toe again, maybe the shin or some other part of your anatomy. And then we're gonna take this left arm over the ear and into that side stretch. One more big breath here. And let go. We're going back where we came from. So we're gonna roll the belly back toward the ground. Ooh, kick that leg back where it came from. 3 cobras. Lift. Slide your hands back. Lift. Oh, try to get your back every time just to see, like, can I work just a little bit more to get a little bit more height off that floor. And then we're gonna come back into down dog. We're going to take the left leg up, bring the knee in, give it a curl, stretch back, bring it in, give it a curl up, stretch it back, one more time, curl it up, step it as far forward as it goes, bring your right foot up to meet it, come up halfway, exhale, fold, and then come all the way to standing, give yourself a nice big stretch. All right, so I know that was a little bit unusual, but let's take ourselves back to mountain pose and see how we feel. So, one is I definitely have a kind of different sense of my overall body. I've used more muscles than I had before when I first got to this mountain pose. I'm a little warmer, but I feel a kind of evenness now that we've done both sides. And so that's kind of fun to notice. Also notice just kind of in general how things feel. So we're gonna do another balancing shape, and you can kind of pick, if you would like to do a tree, you could do a tree. I'm gonna suggest more of an eagle shape, but you can switch it up. So to get into the eagle, you kind of sink back like you're gonna sit into a chair, not quite so far, and then take the weight to the right leg, bring your left leg around the top. So if you can hook the foot around behind. Otherwise, just squeeze the legs together. Now the left arm is going to go on the bottom. And so you could do this as a tree also, right? If that's a little better shape for you. All right. And then hold it as steady as you can. Last big breath. Good. So we're going to explode this guy out and step back into warrior 2. Taking our time because it's kind of fun to hover. All right, so once you get here, just double check that you like the way your hips have landed and bring the arms out. We're going to do a little bit of this mermaid action. So we're going to come back and over. Oh. And so the legs stay as steady as they can. Orient your rib cage so that you can get a nice sensation of stretch on both sides. And then we're reaching out from the waist up to the fingertips and through the waist to the fingertips. As light as we can. Landing if you need to for balance, for sure. One more time. I close my eyes, I get wobbly. All right, so we're gonna come back to a straight leg and reach backwards. And it's almost like from your big toe to your fingertips on that right side, you're giving yourself a nice big stretch. And then we're gonna come into our triangle pose. Now you can float your hand like that. You can grab your ankle or your shin. You can use a block. I've been into a block lately because I like either pushing with my palm or pushing with my fist and creating just a little bit more of a sense of kind of connection in my shoulder joint. You can do it either way. I mean, you can do it however you put your hand. It's just a little bit of resistance is fun. So then we're gonna roll the rib cage open. And this arm here that's on top, we're gonna swing that through a range of motion, okay? So we're gonna bring it down so it's kind of hanging in front of us. Then we're gonna lift it up and sweep it around with the ribs. And then come back Let it dangle. Bring it up. Feel how what the point where it meets the shoulder joint, and then the rest of this is a spin of the ribs. So let the arm dangle, and then feel where it meets the shoulder, and then rotate as far open as you like with your ribs. See if you want to look up at your thumb, or if it's better to look down at your big toe. And you may not find that your arm points straight up at the ceiling when it's actually a part of your shoulder. Make a nice big breath happen. Good. Come on back to the center. Now we're going to bring this whole thing around into a wide angle forward bend. So I just spun my feet around. Now, I like to start with my feet parallel to each other and then see how that feels. Usually I wind up with my toes turned slightly out because that feels a little bit better. So you'll feel it on your own. Like if there's a binding in the knee or a binding in the hip, you definitely want to make adjustments. And then we're going to fold ourselves in here and see how straight the legs want to go. Then we're going to bend the knees and come into a bit of a squat. And we're going to go through that motion a couple times. So just double checking. If you need to stay with one of those, you can. Bend the knees. Coming into a bit of a squat. One more time, we're going to fold forward. Now turn your toes out to about 45 degrees and come into the squat all the way. And we're going to do this little motion with the shoulders, okay? So we're going to roll one shoulder forward and the other shoulder back. Look towards the back shoulder. See if you can draw the shoulder blades just a tiny bit more into that action. Come back to the center. Okay, left shoulder goes forward, right shoulder goes back. Look toward the right a little bit. And then really try to suck that right shoulder blade right to the center of your back and the left shoulder blade all the way in front of you. Beautiful, come on back. We're gonna do it one more time on each side. Right shoulder blade forward, look to the left, squeeze the shoulder blades into place. Come on back. Left shoulder blade forward, right back, look toward the right. Draw those shoulder blades into place. Beautiful, come on back. We're gonna stand all the way up and then we're gonna step forward into that mountain pose. And then pause for a moment and see if it feels different on one side or the other. So when I stood here before, it felt like my shoulders were really muscular and kind of almost tight. And now I feel a difference in the shoulders. It feels a little looser, which is probably good, but it definitely feels different. All right, so we're gonna come into the balancing pose on the left leg, okay? So if you were doing the tree, do the tree. If you were doing this little eagle shape, do the eagle. Right arm goes on the bottom. See if you can bind the hands. They may not bind. And then hold it as steady as you can. All right, yogis, we're going to take a big breath. And then we're going to unwind this. And then step back into warrior two. It's kind of fun. All right. Find the warrior two that feels good on your hips. And then we'll do the mermaid. So two more. Feeling that nice length on both sides of our ribs. As you come back, we're going to straighten out that front leg, give it into that stretch, and then we'll come into our triangle. Again, so I am connecting this shoulder, okay? However you want to orient your hand, I'm connecting there. Lifting a bit through my armpit, creating some length on that bottom side. Other arm is kind of dangly right now, and then I'm going to lift it until I feel it join my shoulder, and the rest of the way I'm working it with my ribs. Let it hang, rinse it out, bring it up to the shoulder. Rest of the rotation comes from the ribs. One more time. All right, feel that arm bone become a part of that shoulder. Rotate from the ribs, hold steady. And again, you can look up or look down. You're gonna take one more breath. And then this whole thing is gonna come back together, and we're gonna step back into down dog. We're gonna come forward into a plank. You can make your plank fancy by taking a leg up off the ground. You can make your leg or your pose a little bit more connected, and then take one leg back. Okay, so holding it steady. If you've got a leg in the air, switch which leg is in the air, hold it steady. Good. Bring the leg down, we're gonna lower all the way down. Okay. So one more time, we're gonna do these little baby cobras. So lift, come down, slide your hands back. Lift, elbows back, slide it back. Now bring your hands all the way to about level with the bottom of your rib cage. Lift the chest as high as it'll go. Float the legs up, draw the elbows back. Reach through your legs. So if you lift the legs higher and it hurts your back, don't lift the legs so high. Try to lift your chest a little higher. Keep the neck a little bit on the loose side. It's just helping your head stay put. One more breath. Good. Come on down. So we're gonna roll into the side. So I'm gonna put my head on my right arm. Left side is up. Oh, I gotta move a little bit forward. Hold on. Just gonna kick the plant. Okay. So if I want a little bit more stability, I bring the legs a little bit forward, or I can bring the hand a little bit forward, put it on the floor, or both. If I line the legs up with the hips and the shoulders, it's a little bit wobblier. I can put the hand on the hip, about a medium level of wobbliness. If I take this arm either behind my ear or in the air, and if I lift the legs off the bottom, I'm gonna have to do all of the stabilization from the core, and so this would be the biggest challenge, okay? Choose appropriately for you. We're gonna take these knees, and we're gonna take the feet and bring them behind the knees, and then we're gonna lift the feet up, okay? So I've got this little shape, so I can come back to this butterfly shape from the beginning. If possible, kick that leg out straight, bring the toes back together, close it up. If when you kick your leg out, it bothers your knee, you can just hover, or you can go halfway, okay? And then bring the knees back together. So nice, slow, like you're underwater. Try to feel the muscle that makes this all possible here on your outer hip, and then right there on the inner part, okay? Try to feel the muscles that take over from each other as we move our leg through this range of motion. Hold steady through your core. So we're gonna do this 4 more times. Unless I lose count, and then we might do it more. I'll try to keep track. 2 more. And the last one. All right, so we're gonna straighten the legs out, and then just pause for a moment and feel everything that's happening. Like, do you feel warmth around your outer hip? Do you feel it more right in this kind of front pocket region of your front of your hip? Just notice where you feel this, having done that range of motion. All right, so then we're gonna lift this leg up a little bit, and we're gonna rotate it so the toes point up. So this is an external rotation, and then we're gonna spin this leg in circles, trying to hold the belly nice and stable. So hug in tight through the sides of your waist. Try to lift that left side waist up, and just spinning that leg in a circle. And again, this isn't very challenging. You can certainly lift both legs off the ground and try it that way. I find that very challenging. All right, last one in that direction, pause. Now rotate your leg the other way so that now the toes point a little bit more towards the floor, and it feels like you're scooping the back of your thigh up toward the ceiling, and then circle in that internal rotation. And as we're holding steady there, circling, and you're trying not to let your abdominals wiggle, can you feel a difference between the muscles that we're using here versus the last one? Okay, one more. And then bring that leg down. We're gonna roll onto our back And we're not quite done with this left hip yet. Okay? Oh, wait. I forgot our inner thighs. Roll back onto your side. I almost forgot. Take your leg up and over the top. Lift the right leg up. I don't want to skip your inner thighs, for crying out loud. All right, here we go. Pulse that up for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hover here, 10, 9. Lift from the side waist here on the bottom. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, good. Now we're gonna roll onto our backs. Okay, so the left leg is gonna be the working leg, and the right leg is gonna be the leg that does a little bit more of the fun, I guess. So we're gonna see if we can do this. So we're gonna try to take this right leg in the air, and then we're gonna see if we can lift ourselves up. So actually, let's start with a bridge, and it might be easier then. Okay, so then, if you can do it, you're gonna take your right leg off the floor. If that's too much, just put it back down, or you can try this little in-between, put your right ankle up on top, and see if that way works better for you, okay? So, we're gonna lift the hips, and then we're gonna bring them down toward the floor, but not quite touching, lift them back up. Now if you get a hamstring cramp, just shake it out, and then come back. Lift, lower almost to the ground, lift, lower almost to the ground, lift, lower almost to the ground. One more time, lift, and then lower all the way to the ground. And then give that whole thing a rinse. Now yogis, we have another side to go. So I'm gonna spin around 180 degrees. You can follow me if you want, or just roll onto your side. I'll try not to forget parts this time. So head is gonna rest on your left arm. Left hip's on the bottom, right hip's up on the top. Unless you did it that way last time, and then whatever, you're just gonna do it the other direction. Again, do the things that make you the right amount of stable, whatever that might be. We're gonna bend the knees so the feet come kind of behind the knees, and then lift them up. And then the knees open, leg extends, toes come back together, knees come back together. Try to hug in through the sides of your waist so that you hold nice and stable here. And we're just gonna keep that movement going, nice and smooth. And again, if it hurts your knee, you can go just part of the way, or just keep the toes touching and hold. Hold there, and then bring it back together, okay? So do it the right amount of challenge for you. So we're gonna do 4 more. We've got one left. All right. When you come back together, we're going to straighten out the legs. Pause for a moment. Lift that top leg, and then we're just going to rotate that whole thigh, everything, so that it's in an external rotation. The toes point kind of up at a diagonal. And then you're going to spin that leg, and you're going to hug in through the sides of your waist, top and bottom, to try to hold that nice and stable. So it's not rocking around. Good. Feel the muscles in your legs that are helping you do this work. Good. Pause for a moment. We're going to rotate the other way. So we're going to do an internal rotation. Try not to let it affect whether you're nice and stable through your inner, through the belly. Hug in through the sides of the waist, and then spin your leg the opposite direction. Try to hold steady. With the internal rotation, toes pointing toward the ground a little bit, can you feel a different set of muscles working? Couple more, and coming back together. Okay, now we're going to do the inner thigh. So we're going to take that leg around the top, and you don't have to put your foot on the ground the way I do. You can certainly let the leg be out straight. I like this position because it kind of stretches that area. I was just working hard. Lift your bottom leg up, and we're going to pulse it up for 10, 9, 8. Hug in through the sides of your waist. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it steady now. Lift it. 10, 9. A little bit more from the inner side waist. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Coming on back down. We're going to roll onto the back. Now that right leg is going to be the working one. And my left leg is either going to go straight up, or you can put it across, or you can leave the foot on the ground. Just do the work with both feet. Okay, so we'll lift into the bridge, and then choose which one of those options seems like the best one for you. Then we're going to lower the hips down and press them up. Lower them down, almost to the ground, but not quite. Press them up. Lower them down. Press them up. Lower them down. Press them up. We got 2 more to go. Lower them down. Bring them up. Lower them down. Bring them up. And then come all the way down and unwind. Give your legs a little shimmy. So we're going to do a stretch for the hip flexors. And so for some of us, it's not going to take much. And then for others of us, we might want like a little yoga block or a little blanket. I'm going to use a blanket. So I'm going to take the blanket that I had at the beginning that's still folded into thirds, and I'm going to put that underneath my hips. Okay, so I'm going to lift into bridge and bring that guy up under, because that gives me a little bit of a lift, but it's not too much. A block could just as easily go underneath here. You're going to take your right leg, bring it in, and if you can do it, we're going to hold onto the foot. Okay, so we're in kind of like an upside down lunge. Then we're going to stretch this left leg out and let it reach out towards the floor. Now, if this is too much for this hip, you can let go of the foot and just hold onto the knee. Sometimes I hold the ankle instead. So we're just kind of feeling this leg now reach out nice and long. Now for me, this is just the right amount of stretch, but if you don't feel anything on the front of your left thigh, you can elevate your hips a little higher up. What I like about this version of the lunge is I can like turn it into happy baby or something else on the right side. And turn it into like a pigeon. Stretch out through that left leg. Last breath here. All right, so we're gonna let go of the right side. Put both feet on the ground. Give yourself a little windshield wipers. And then just pause for a moment. Feel the 2 hips. And is there anything that gives you an indication that you should shake it up a little bit, not do it exactly the way you did it last time? Or does it feel nice and pleasant? So we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. I'm gonna bring my left foot in, grab hold of it, and then stretch through my right side. Now my right side's a little tighter than my left, so I really feel it on this side. And you might be the opposite. Maybe on this side it would be better to elevate a little more, or even take the elevation all the way out. And again, like you're kind of free here to let this leg do whatever you want. Just reach through that right leg. Let the front of that hip open up. It's a great alternative to the pigeon if you're kind of hanging out with the leg a little bit more in that pigeon-y shape. So you get a nice stretch through your hip flexor. All right, so we're gonna come out of there. I'm gonna lift my hips up and slide the blanket out from under the hips, but I'm gonna leave it close by because we're gonna do one more twist and then relax. Take the legs over to the right, stretch out nice and long through your arm. And come on back to the center, take it the other way, stretch out through your arm. Now some of you might have to kind of scooch off to work. Some of us might have a little bit of time. And we can just pause for a moment and stretch the legs out. And just take a couple moments to let the body completely relax into the work we did. often tempted to skip this step, but oh gosh, it feels nice to just let go. Facial muscles relax a bit more. Let the breath be really natural. Ready, take a breath so deep you can feel it to your toes. Let go with a big deep sigh. Hanging out in that little sigh vibe. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Stretch them apart. Give your wrists and ankles a little movement. Oh, give yourself a stretch and a hug. Oh. And then we'll come around. Thanks for hanging with me, yogis. It's Monday. Woo! But maybe we're started out now. Namaste, yogis.